Matt Wright.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. I am Matt Wright, and together you and I are going to be going on a wonderful journey traversing the muddied waters of freedom. How's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody out there is having a fantastic evening, having a wonderful, rip-roaring good time. It is Tuesday, the 14th, and this is Muddied Waters of Freedom. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I know I did. I had a blast. Actually, I didn't do much of anything, actually. Ahoy, Libertarian Giggles. Thanks for tuning in to watch me here exclusively on Rumble. Remember, folks, you can watch me only here on Rumble. You can listen to me on podcasts, on podcasting platforms all across the interwebs. All you have to do is hit subscribe on wherever it is you are watching or listening, and hit subscribe wherever it is you're watching or listening, and you will be given the gift of liberty at least once a week. Also, we relaunched the subscriber program, and it is at an extremely low price right now. So for $3 a month, it's less than $3 a month. Well, not when you add tax. For $2.99, you get every back catalog subscriber episode that there is. You get any subscriber episodes we make in the future. You get all of it. You'll also get specials. You'll also get specials on gear whenever we relaunch the store. So head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe today and subscribe for $3 a month. You're going to get a ton of content, and you'll also get a lot of cool swag and stuff once we relaunch that program. But yeah, I hope everybody's been doing well. My dog is already looking at me, giving me the eye, because I know that we had to do a very short walk today. We had to do a very short walk today because it's raining, and he was not happy with the fact that it was raining, and instead he wanted to stay out longer, but it was soaking. I was soaking wet. I had to change. So he wants to go back out. So let's get to it so I can get him back out once it does stop raining, hopefully soon. And that way he won't try to interrupt the show. But that brings us to the Mudwater. This episode is brought to you by Mudwater. Mudwater is a coffee alternative, as well as the most aptly named sponsor for this show ever, with 1/7 of the caffeine as a regular cup of coffee. It's made with masala chai, cacao, mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, and that is it. And I know what you're thinking, Matt, you are somebody who loves caffeine. Why would you be hawking for a company that is advertising less caffeine? And that's because it worked. It's true. I love caffeine. I used to drink 2 energy drinks a day, and now I might have 1 a week. All thanks to Mudwater. If you or someone you love might want to make the switch to Mudwater, all you have to do is head on over to muddiedwatersoffreedom.com/mud to make the switch today. So everybody head on over to muddiedwatersoffreedom.com/mud, make the switch over to Mudwater today, and enjoy the wonderful, wonderful benefit of having less caffeine and more beverages that taste like a hobo's foot. We're opening with something that happened today. There were some fireworks today in the Senate committees, and Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma had that. Like, I don't want to build this up more than I can. So Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma had this moment. If you're listening on audio, I highly recommend finding the video on Spotify or on Rumble. But if you're listening on audio, thank you. But check out Mark Wayne Mullen today.
Like he's self-made. Sir, I wish he was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company. Myself and my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your
All right.
solution, every
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down.
Okay.
You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond, Mr.
Hold
Chairman?
it. Hold it. If
Hold
we
on.
can't, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
I love that Bernie Sanders is sitting there going, no, you can't respond. No, you are a United States Senator. You can't respond, sir. Yeah, so O'Brien is one of the Teamsters, and he has been going after Senator Mullen for Mullen's attempts for certain legislations. I didn't even look that much into it. But what I know is that Mark Wayne Mullen is a former professional MMA fighter. He's like 5-0, I think, and he's part of the he's in Oklahoma Wrestling Hall of Fame. And if he would have gotten a hold of O'Brien for saying that he wasn't a self-made man and he didn't build his business and all that on the floor of it, I'm going to say the floor of the Senate. Obviously, it was like in a Senate committee, but if he could have done that on the floor of the Senate and just beat that dude to a pulp. Because he said, we're consenting adults. Like, I think that they should have let that happen. Two consenting adults working their anger out by beating the tar out of each other on the floor of the Senate committee. I think that would have been the greatest news to ever come out of the Senate easily in the last 15 years. Easily in the last 15 years. And I think that would have been absolutely fantastic. But no, Bernie Sanders had to be the wet blanket to all of that and not allow that to happen. Because Bernie Sanders sucks the fun out of absolutely everything. And he is the wet blanket of the United States Senate. So, speaking of the U.S. Senate and the shakeups that are about to be happening, Joe Manchin, the former sitting president of the United States, acting president, he wasn't sitting, he was the acting president of the United States, and the current senator from West Virginia has announced he is not going to be running for re-election. Now, this brings up a ton of different questions. But first, let's get into it. After months, according to Joe Manchin himself, after months of deliberation and long conversations with my family, I believe in my heart of hearts that I have accomplished what I set out to do for West Virginia. And after making the deal to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, which led to more inflation and out of control prices nationwide, I, for one, am glad he isn't running again. Now, granted, we're going to get into a little bit more of that in a minute, but what he says he's going to do now is he's going to be traveling the country and speaking out to see if there is an interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring Americans together. Now, Joe Manchin is a polarizing character in politics. The Democrats don't like him because he took way too much power to get what he needed for West Virginia when the Senate was in a 50-50 tie. So they did not like him for doing what his constituents literally elected him to do up until the Inflation Reduction Act. And Republicans hated him for doing what his constituents elected him to do, including the Inflation Reduction Act. So he's a polarizing character, and many people always said, oh, he's going to switch sides, but then he would vote something so far left, like the Inflation Reduction Act, that people would say, well, he can't really join the Republicans now. And the Republicans would always say, and Republicans were like, no, he's not one of us. Democrats were like, he's not one of us. He and Kristen Sinema were kind of on the same page, but he never left the party. He said he didn't see eye to eye with the Democrats anymore, but he wouldn't leave the party. Personally, I have no issue with him doing what he did. He was a Democrat. He believed in certain things that Democrats believe in, and he voted the way that he believed the people of West Virginia wanted him to vote. And it seemed to work. I mean, he kept getting reelected. I mean, they all keep getting reelected, even if, the people of their state say that they're terrible. But he continued to get reelected time after time, and now he's saying that he's not. Now, again, he did help with the Inflation Reduction Act deal, and we reported on that when it first happened, here, and we said that for $10,000, he changed his mind and said, yes, I'm going to go with the Inflation Reduction Act. Well, as it turned out, it was for a little bit more than $10,000. Right before the Inflation Reduction Act kicked into place, it basically seemed as though the checks began coming into the fund, into the Manchin fund, in early July, just weeks before Senator Manchin made his surprise announcement that he had struck a deal with Chuck Schumer. Now, I've highlighted some of the amounts of money that he got right before the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, the Brownstein Senior Policy Director, Michael Stratton, donated $10,510 to the Manchin Leadership Fund on August 31st. The Norman Brownstein, the firm's chairman, donated $5,800 to the fund on September 9th. Managing partner Rich Benson donated $1,000. The Brooks Energy Company donated $10,000 on July 27th. Energy Eckerd gave the Manchin Leadership Fund $5,000. Other donors from energy industry include executives from companies including Enduring Resources, Hope Gas, Consol Energy, Robindale Energy, Xcoal Energy and Resources, and HRM Resources 3. And Senator Manchin raised nearly $500,000 in the third quarter of the year through his campaign, with several donations coming from figures in the fossil fuel industries, all of whom benefited from the Inflation Reduction Act. So again, he does what is best for his state and for his campaign fund. Now, oddly, he just announced he is not going to be running for re-election. But he has all of this campaign money. Before we get into the presidency thing, let's take a look at the Senate. So at the time, back before 2020, back before 2022, or 2020, there was a 50-50 tie before 2022, there was a 50-50 tie in the Senate. Now it's 51-50. With him leaving, Kristen Sinema is now an independent, though she caucuses with the Democrats. She is going to be running for re-election. The Democrats are going to be putting somebody up. Kristen Sinema and the Democrat will probably be splitting the votes for the Democrat, almost ensuring that a Republican wins that race. Joe Manchin is going to be dropping out. Now, he's not going to be running again. To find somebody that is a Democrat in West Virginia, that can win the Senate seat, to win Manchin's Senate seat, is going to be very difficult. So odds are that's going to be a Republican. You are going to be looking at Republicans in both of those two seats, which now switches it where the Republicans hold more seats than the Democrats, assuming all else stays the same. So that's not good news for the Democrats. That is definitely not good news for the Democrats. That is not what they were hoping for. Then, on top of it, many people are speculating that he is planning to run for president on a third-party ticket called the No Labels Party. We talked about this briefly a couple of weeks ago. Under the third-party No Labels, the No Labels Party. If he does this, you're going to have a situation where, well, Jill Stein announced today that she's running for the Green Party. Cornel West, who was initially going to be running as a Green Party, has decided he's going to be running independent. RFK Jr. is running independent. If you have Joe Manchin adding to that, running third party with the No Labels Party, that is going to be a lot of people, a lot of excess people running for the presidency. That, I don't know how to say this in a way that all votes are anybody's votes. You have to earn them. But you're typically going to be pulling from the same pools of people. You're going to be pulling from the same pools of people. And if Joe Manchin goes out there and earns the votes of people that would normally vote Democrat, that's going to hurt the Democrats. He is going to probably pull more from the Democrats than he's going to pull from the Republicans. Just like Jill Stein and Cornel West are going to probably pull more people who would be more likely to vote Democrat than people who are more likely to vote Republican. Joe Manchin making this choice, if he's making this choice, which all signs are pointing that he is looking to do it, Joe Manchin looks like he is going to hand the Senate and the presidency over to the GOP if both of these things happen. Once again, making him the most powerful senator in America. I don't know if he's going to do it. This has been kicked around. A lot of people are saying that this is what's going to happen, and he's out there he's calling it his whistling tour, where he wants to find out if there's interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring America together. And if there is anything out there that says there is nothing America wants more than a Manchin-Romney unity ticket, I don't know what it is, because that sounds awful. Just awful. Like, that sounds like sardines and fish. Nope, sardines and peanut butter. Sardines and peanut butter. That does not sound delicious at all. That does not sound like something anybody wants. Does not sound like something anybody wants, but that is apparently what it is that is being pitched, because we know that Mitt Romney is not running for re-election as well, and he has also been linked to the No Labels Party. So who knows if that's going to happen. But something to keep the eye on. And with how this election is shaping up, it's going to be a wild ride no matter what. And I'm actually very excited about all of it. Now, speaking of wild rides, I actually meant to look something up before we got started here because I was doing these notes. I knew how something was going to end up, and then I forgot to finish the notes when I got home today because... So Speaker Mike Johnson, he was kind of put into a terrible position. He was put into a terrible position. There we go. He was put into a terrible position. But before we get into that, let's remember like 2 months ago, Kevin McCarthy came up with a stopgap bill, a continuing resolution bill that required some help from the Democrats to make sure that the government did not shut down. Now, for anybody who has a memory, back in 2010, back in 2010, I think it's 2010, we're going to go with 2010, the Republicans shut down the government. The Republicans shut down the government. It may have been in 2012. The Republicans shut down the government, and because they weren't going to pass spending bills, for Obama that didn't meet their without cutting spending elsewhere, and things weren't getting passed. They weren't coming to the table to negotiate. They weren't coming to deal. Republicans got blamed for this, and they did not perform as well as people thought they should in the next election. Ted Cruz was blamed for a lot of this. Kevin McCarthy remembered that, and he did not want to go into the midterms. He didn't want to go into the midterms or into the off-year election, having just caused a shutdown. So he came up with this stopgap bill that required help from Democrats. Matt Gaetz then said, nope, you said you wouldn't work with the Democrats. Let's have him removed, and voted to get him out. And Matt Gaetz got help from all of the Democrats to have Speaker McCarthy removed. Going to preface, I don't like Speaker McCarthy. I don't like any of these guys, but, this is what happened. Then there was no speaker for a while, and that was great because nothing was getting done. Loved it. And then they ended up deciding on a speaker, and for some reason, they picked somebody who could win a Rachel Maddow lookalike contest. Just find that weird. And now Mike Johnson, for what it's worth, he's got his back up against the wall, and I understand where he's coming from, because he just was put in a few weeks back. He was just elected a few weeks back, and he's already facing a shutdown on Friday. Now, since he has been speaker, the GOP put forth one spending bill, which was to help fund Israel, and in it they said that they wanted to take funding from the IRS to use that for Israel, which, if you are going to be funding, overseas wars, yeah, please take away the organizations that take away money from the organizations that take money from me. Totally happy with that arrangement. I don't want us funding that, but if you're doing it, defund something here. Which meant it was dead on arrival in the Senate, was never going to go anywhere. Now, they need to make sure he knows that he can't have the government shut down, because 2024 is coming up. And as we're going to get into later, the Republicans have not been performing well at all in the elections since 2016. So he knows that you can't have the shutdown, because he'll get blamed for the shutdown. The Republicans will get blamed for the shutdown, and it will lower their chances of winning in 2024. So he offers a stopgap. And of course, this causes Republicans to be like, no, we can't do that. Let the government shut down. He doesn't want to have the shutdown. He doesn't want to do a huge omnibus that people will try to push through at the end of the year. As we typically see at this time of year, you always see the end of the year holiday omnibus spending packages. So instead, he's like, let's push it out past that, and then we can come back to it after we go on our holiday break. And so he's like, okay, let's kick the can down the road a little bit until after the new year, which, of course, we don't want that to happen. I understand where he's coming from, but I also see that this is not something that we hope for. This is not what we want. But this is what he's saying. This is what he's saying that he wanted. And so he's like, I'm going to do it where certain things we will have to vote on by January 9th and other things by the beginning of February. And Democrats didn't like this. But Democrats knew that if they did not support this plan, they would be seen as shutting down the government. Because technically, he's not cutting funding from anything. He's not reallocating funding from anything. He's just saying, hey, let's just vote on these two things later down the road. And Democrats didn't want to vote for it, but they knew if they didn't, they would look like they had just shut down the government. And Democrats were like, we can't risk losing more. Manchin's already out. If it looks like we're losing, if Manchin runs for president, we might risk losing the the Senate. We might risk losing the presidency. And if we shut down, it could make it look like we are going to lose the House. And then Republicans will have control over all three branches, all three chambers. So they basically said that they were going to vote for it. The GOP was still up in arms. It looked, and obviously, so just spoiler alert, this passed with a 336 to 95. 336 for, 95 against. I don't have the breakdown on who was the 95 against. I bet a majority of them were, I'm not even going to say a majority. A good portion were probably Republican, a good portion were Democrats. Probably almost 50-50 there. But nobody wanted to look like they had shut down the government, because this election is already being, every year we hear it. Every presidential year we hear it. I've heard it every one that I have voted in, of this is the most important election of our lifetimes. And usually you start hearing it closer and closer to November of the election year. I have been hearing that this is the most important election of our lifetimes from the right and the left since the beginning of the summer of 2023. This is a fight for our democracy. This is a fight for the soul of our country and whatever else. The fact that what Mike Johnson did was work with the Democrats, get Democrat support on this thing in order to push it down the road without changing any of the funding, shows that what Matt Gaetz did to Kevin McCarthy had nothing to do with what Kevin McCarthy did. It had to do with the fact it was Kevin McCarthy. Because if it had to do with what Kevin McCarthy did, Matt Gaetz would be doing the exact same thing to Mike Johnson tomorrow, and we know he's not going to. Matt Gaetz is planning to be the next governor of Florida. He wants to take over for DeSantis in 26. 26? Sure. We'll say that. Yeah, 26. He's going to try to take over for DeSantis in 26. He wanted to do something that would give him a big name recognition that wasn't what he was really being recognized for down here in Florida. And if you don't know what that is, Google it. Look that one up on Ask Jeeves. So Matt Gaetz did what he did for political reasons only. It wasn't because he thought Kevin McCarthy was terrible or wasn't good at the job or anything like that. Thomas Massey even said Kevin McCarthy is the most conservative speaker that we have had since Newt Gingrich. And Matt Gaetz did that purely for political reasons, only to get his name up there, to be the firebrand kind of candidate that he's looking to become when he runs for governor in 2026. But yeah, the Republicans and Democrats work together. The government's not going to shut down over the holidays, which means that, nothing changes. Nothing changes either way. So we've got that going for us, I guess. And now we just have the ever looming presence of the IRS looking at how much we are spending through our Venmos. Now, none of this would be an issue because we wouldn't need to be doing the stopgap things. We wouldn't need to be doing these stopgap things, and we'd be able to see if the GOP was actually able to put together a real bill if the GOP wasn't such a dumpster fire. And the GOP is, in fact, just one massive dumpster fire. And it's easy to say that. It's easy to say that looking at it from the outside, but if you were to sit there and say, even looking at it from inside the party, I don't see how they can say, no, everything that we have is going well. Like that's just not something that is possible to be done. The their lead presidential candidate, President Trump, is tied up in like 1,000 different trials with 4,000 different felony charges and a bunch of different civil trials, and they're trying to get, millions upon millions of dollars out of him, and that's just not a good look for any party. The infighting in the House has led to multiple issues, like Mike Johnson being the speaker, Mike Johnson being the speaker, and Mike Johnson wondering what it is that he can do to try to make sure that he doesn't piss off his party in the first 2 weeks of him being speaker when the spending bill is about to expire. According to polling, RFK Jr. being in the race hurts Donald Trump more than it hurts Biden, which why that Manchin thing is a huge win for Trump, because that hurts Biden more. The chair of the RNC is, in my opinion, rightfully being dragged by literally people from all across the spectrum politically. Vivek Ramaswamy compared her to a cancer in last week's debate and said, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave. We got trounced again last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party, and offered to have her come up and resign during the presidential debate. And he said that he would give her his time so she could do that. She said that she wasn't running for president, but no, you are attempting to get people elected and you're doing a really terrible job at it. Liz Cheney said in a tweet, when GOP chairwoman refuses to condemn the GOP's leading candidate for using the same Nazi propaganda that mobilized 1930s, 40s Germany to evil, it's fair to assume she's collaborating. History will judge Ronna McDaniel and every Republican who is appeasing this dangerous man. And that was in response to Donald Trump, who had tweeted, in honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, the Marxists, fascists, and radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, lie, steal, and cheat on elections, and will do anything possible, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and the American dream. I haven't been able to do my Trump in a while, so I was just really excited to do that one. So, granted, what Trump is saying here, obviously, is not like the greatest look, but it is very much the Trumpiest quote that you could have on Veterans Day. And for Liz Cheney to compare. I never took that off. For Liz Cheney to compare that to, like, and I know what she's talking about here. She's talking about how they came for the communists and the Marxists and the fascists and everybody else before they came for the Jews. I understand that's what she is referring to when she says this. But now she is saying that Ronna Romney McDaniel is in cahoots with Nazis because Liz Cheney immediately went to Nazis when talking about Trump's tweet, because Liz Cheney is one of anybody that I disagree with is a Nazi kind of mentality individual. So, and then you have Ben Shapiro, who constantly is crapping all over Ronna McDaniels, and pointing out that the biggest issue that the Republicans have and that she suffers from is there is no consistent messaging coming from the leadership. The 2024 elections obviously are coming up quickly. insanely fast. And it's going to be one of the craziest election cycles I think that we have ever been a part of. The only thing that is saving the GOP from just absolute obsolescence is that Joe Biden, who is the likely candidate for the Democrats, is basically a zombie. He doesn't know where he is at any given moment. And if he didn't have his handlers, he would not have any clue. He would not have any. If he wasn't the president of the United States, he would be in a home wandering around, wondering where he could get ice cream from. Like, he would not be out anywhere in public, able to talk to anybody. And when you add in the fact that you've got Cornel West, Jill Stein, Joe Manchin, and as along with RFK Jr., the only thing that's going to happen is that the GOP has the ability, to fail forward because of just the dumpster fire that the Democrats are. Both parties are complete and utter dumpster fires. And both parties can see what their issues are. They can see what their issues are, and if it's easy for somebody like me or somebody like you, anybody watching this, to see what the issues are, if it's easy to pinpoint what they are, you need to take the time to fix them if you are the parties. But instead, the parties are waiting for the other dumpster fire to burn quicker, and that is what they're doing. So both of them are just pushing the problems further down the road, which is exactly what Kevin McCarthy and now Mike Johnson and everybody that has been in the House of Representatives and the Senate have been doing with debt and with everything else for decades now. They are going to be doing to their parties what they have been doing with every economics measure in America for the last 40 years. They're going to continue pushing these problems down the road. Ronna McDaniel remember, she's also a Romney, so there's a chance that she might leave when Mitt's gone anyway. But she's going to leave, set up all these problems, and then push it down to whoever the next person is. Jamie, I forget the head of the DNC. The DNC, man, I will give them one thing. They are fantastic at messaging. Their messaging is unbelievable. They've got that going for them. They stick to their message, and they are all lockstep they're all lockstep with it. They do not break from that message even a little bit. So, I mean, they've got that, but so they have that going for them, but other parts of their problem is just collapsing. The Democrats have their issues, Republicans have their issues. Both parties are just kicking their issues down the road, hoping that whoever comes in next can fix them, or that the other party fails so horrendously that they end up winning. So you weren't even getting the best of the best from these people, which we've known for decades at this point. But you're not getting the best of the best from these people. Instead, you are getting the people who didn't fail as badly as the other side. That is who is now going to be leading our country. The people who don't screw up as much are the people who are going to be leading the country heretofore. So, yeah, that's not really an uplifting thing to leave you all on, but that's the best I got today. That is the best I got. Everything, like I was going to talk about the Jim Jordan. I was going to talk about the Jim Jordan committee where they said, look, the government was working with colleges and was working with colleges to have conservatives silenced on social media, but we already knew that, and absolutely nothing is going to happen to any of these people. Nothing is going to happen to those people, and because why would it? Why would it? Nobody's going to do anything to them. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I've got for today. I am working on, I've been talking with somebody to have them come on and that's gonna, if I can have this guy come on, I don't want to announce it yet because we haven't solidified it. But if I can have him come on, that is going to be one of the most entertaining shows I have been a part of, and I am looking forward to every second of that. But hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Stay safe. We will be back here next Tuesday. I'm not going to do the themed things this year because I just don't care this year about the themed crap. I'm just not feeling up for the holidays. So we'll be back here with a regular episode next week. Stay safe this week. If y'all need anything, let me know. And remember, head on over, make sure that wherever you are, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching over here on Rumble, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, follow button, whatever it is. If you're listening to this on any podcasting platform, give me a 5-star review. I would appreciate it. That helps me out in the algorithm. And honestly, like, that's how I make the most money out of this. And if you want access to all of the subscriber stuff, head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe. anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe to get all of the subscriber stuff. Thank you all so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great weekend. And remember, where we're going, we don't need roads.